Okay, I think we are live. Hello, everyone. Okay, I'm seeing some people join. Yay, I'm just going to wait a couple of seconds as people get on. I had the brilliant idea to turn my phone around so I could actually see what was happening. So hopefully today is going to go a lot smoother than yesterday. If you were here yesterday and you're coming back for day 2, I'm so thankful that you are. And if this is your first time here, welcome. We're kind of figuring this out as we go, but I'm really excited. So we are covering day 2 of the Psalms of Rest study, which is on shereadstruth.com. Yesterday we looked at, which Psalm did we look at? 23, I believe. And today we're looking at Psalm 46. So we're kind of making our way through a few of these really encouraging Psalms, which I just think have a lot of relevance for us today. Whether you are a Christian or not, whether you grew up in church but you're not really feeling it, or you're a super passionate, wherever you're at, I just want you to know you're really welcome here. And these words, I hope, will encourage you no matter where you find yourself. So thank you again. I know I probably say that so many times, but thank you for just taking a few minutes to be here. And if you're watching this recorded, I'm also so happy you're here. Also, really quick, after the live story ended, I went and I read y'all's comments, and it just blew me away. All the encouragement and all the things you were sharing, it blessed me so much. So please feel free to share what you're learning, to comment at each other with encouragement. That was just, I thought, so amazing. Like we did yesterday, here's kind of the layout of today. I don't think this is probably going to last more than 30 minutes, but I'm just going to open us up in a little bit of prayer, and then I'm just going to read my version of the psalm. Yours may look a little bit different depending on what translation you're reading from. And then I'm going to read the Devo and then share my personal thoughts from the psalm. And wow, it was a powerful psalm. So I'm excited to dive into it with y'all. Okay, let's open up with a little bit of prayer. Lord, I thank you for another day. I thank you that your mercy is new every single morning. I thank you that you meet us where we're at. And for a lot of us, that's sitting in some fear and anxiety. Or maybe we're feeling positive and joyful today. And I just thank you, Lord, that you are present with each of us. No matter how we're feeling, no matter what's going on around us. I thank you so much for encouraging us with your word yesterday, and just the reminder that you have compassion for us and you love us. You take care of us in the middle of hard times. You set a table to meet with us, and what a beautiful picture. I pray you would open our hearts to whatever you want to show us in your word today. I pray that whatever I say that doesn't match up, would you just help everyone to just forget it, and would the only thing that lasts be your voice. I just pray you remove any nerves from me, and I just thank you again for this time, and gosh, how crazy that we can join together from all over to be reminded of your love for us. So we give this time to you. Please continue to help us love your word, help us love you more, and that's it. Amen. Okay, let's dive in. Okay, Psalm 46. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear, though the earth gives way, though the mountains be moved into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble at its swirling. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy habitation of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God will help her when morning dawns. The nations rage, the kingdoms totter. He utters his voice, the earth melts. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Come, behold the works of the Lord, how he has brought desolations on the earth. He makes war cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the chariots with fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Wow. Okay, I am now going to read through the little Devo from She Reads Truth, and then we'll get into a few reflections. Alrighty, here we go. Alrighty, it says, when I was a kid, I used to be terrified that our house was going to burn down. I would lie awake in my bed, certain that at any moment I would see smoke coming from under my door, a raging fire just down the hallway, ready to engulf my entire family, destroying everything in its wake. Before bed, I would ask my parents to close all the doors to keep the fire from getting into our rooms and make sure the oven was off, and every so often I'd ask them to check our smoke detectors just in case one was malfunctioning. My parents would do all of these things, lovingly reminding me that I was safe, that nothing was going to happen to me. And they would pray with me, inviting me to bring my fears and uncertainties to God, the one who protects me and strengthens me. This psalm refers to God as the Lord of armies. This name for God appears most often in the minor prophets, both before and after Judah's exile into Babylon. The lives of God's people were full of fear and uncertainty, and they were constantly reminded of the power their enemies held over them. Referring to God as the Lord of armies reminded them of his ability to keep them from harm. This whole psalm is a reminder of God's unmatched power. The psalm writes of God's ability to provide calm and order in the midst of total chaos. The first stanza speaks of God's protection from the natural elements, the second of God's protection from other nations, and the third of God's protection from fighting and wars. In every stanza, the psalmist reminds us that God is with us, that he is our refuge, that the Lord of armies is our stronghold. How could we not bow down in praise of such a powerful God? With a God like this on our side, fighting for us, watching over us, our fears don't stand a chance. These days, I'm not as scared of my house burning down as I used to be. My fears are more concerned with uncertainty about the future and my need to control things. So although I am not a nation at war, I can still find rest in the fact that the Lord of armies is with me. He is a refuge for my weary soul, a place of comfort in the midst of chaos. His power is stronger than even the most terrifying of armies. His love is deeper than any raging sea. He is strong, he is good, and he will not let me go, even in the fiercest battle. Oh, man, I don't know about y'all, but I just feel like I got a big hug. That was really comforting. I don't know about, again, y'all, but I just felt like this psalm was two things for me. It was eye-opening in the sense that I was like, dang, I spend so much time in the New Testament, I think, reading that sometimes I forget to just step back and remember God's power. And so reminding myself of that and seeing and being reminded of his power was like, whew. And then it was comforting in the sense that I was like, man, this is my God. What am I worried about again? So let's dive into a few takeaways. I have them listed out in my journal. Again, I would love to hear yours. So if anything sticks out to you or if you had a takeaway, would love for you to share it in these little comments. We can all be encouraged by them, or you can DM me, whatever you want to do, but I really love hearing y'all's thoughts. Okay, the first thing I wanted to talk about that stuck out to me was as I was reading through this, and your translation or Bible may look different, it's verse 1 says, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. So first off, that's amazing. He's present in trouble. He's not far off. He's not ignoring us. Like, he is here in the trouble, whatever trouble that is for us. But my Bible has a little note by very present, and when I looked at the bottom, it said, or well proved. And I love the thought of well proved, so I'm going to read the verse with that instead of very present. It says, God is our refuge and strength, a well proved help in trouble. And I loved that reminder. If I look back on my life, I can see all the ways that the Lord protected me. In every trial or hard thing I went through, I can look back and see he is a well-proved help in trouble. He hasn't failed me yet. So why do I have reason to believe he'll fail me now? I just thought that was really powerful, even that little switch. Is that true in your life? I'm curious. Maybe you've walked with the Lord for your whole life and you're like, yes, I have a string of stories about how he's been faithful. Maybe not for you. Maybe you're wanting that present help in trouble. I found it in my walk with the Lord and his grace in my life. So anyways, the next thing, it kind of goes off of that, is I want to point out this little word, therefore. So the reason I wanted to bring this to your attention, I have been doing a study with my Bible study here in Gainesville. It's the Hebrew study by Jen Wilkin. And one of the things she has us do is mark up all of the verses. And whenever there's a word therefore, we're supposed to underline it. And then look back to the verse in front of it and connect those dots. Because like we kind of covered yesterday, it's so easy to skate through the scripture. I called it, and I said it yesterday, I call it skimming instead of searching. And when we slow down and really take things word for word, instead of just rushing through a verse just to get through it, it's amazing what we find. So if we do that, we're looking at this therefore. So why will we not fear though the earth gives way? Because God is our refuge and strength. Because he is always present in trouble. And that may sound very like duh, but I don't know, something about focusing on, we won't fear just on a whim. You know, it's not that I can't articulate this. We have our hope in God. Like we don't fear because God is with us. We're not just like being needlessly optimistic about it. We don't just have peace because we hope everything works out. Like, we are able to not fear because of who God is. And so if you're feeling pressure right now to act like everything's fine, or maybe you're a believer and you're like, I know I shouldn't be anxious, but like, I am, like, it's okay. It says right here, like, we can find peace in the midst of uncertainty because God is our refuge and our strength. He is a very present help in trouble. So that was my little number one thing that kind of stuck out to me. The second was something kind of maybe unique that I do, maybe not, maybe a lot of people do this. But as I was going through this, I just felt compelled to write out the first few verses, but replace the words with what was actually going on in my world. I do this from time to time. I'll change like a he to a her, or I'll fill in my name in a verse just to help me remember that it is personal to me. So I'm going to read this verse, here it is, with how I kind of rewrote it, if you will. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear though coronavirus sweeps our world, though ventilators run out, though the economy crashes, though my financial future is uncertain, though Andrew could be exposed. And sometimes when I do that, so I feel emotional. But when I do that, it helps me remember this isn't some far off promise that isn't relevant to today. No, like in the midst of coronavirus, in the midst of job loss, in the midst of financial hardship, in the midst of health hardship, these promises are true today. And again, I just put why. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. And I looked up refuge. It's one of those words that I know what it means, but sometimes it's helpful to write out the dictionary definition. And refuge means shelter or protection from damage or distress. And wow, how perfect for the season we're in right now. So that was my little takeaway. I would encourage y'all to do that. If you sometimes struggle with feeling like the Bible is relevant to you, I would fill in, or I don't want to say change verses, but where it's appropriate, fill in with what you're actually going through, and it's so helpful to me. Alrighty, moving on to my third takeaway. I just wrote down the power of God. And then we see in verse 46:10, be still and know that I am God. How wild is it that we are in a season of forced stillness? For many of us, not for all of us, obviously, but for those of us who find ourselves spending a lot more time at home, maybe work has slowed down, or for whatever reason, a lot of us are being forced to be still. to know that God is God in this time is something so encouraging. And I think for me, one of the things I kind of wrote down, and I hope I can articulate this well, is in my own personal life, I'm thinking that this is one of the only times, or maybe one of the first times, where a tragedy or a hardship has occurred that wasn't that wasn't caused by like a person that like people could control or fix. Does that make sense? Like, I think of like terrorist attacks or times when it was another government like we see in this, or another nation. Sometimes in those instances, it's easy for me to be like, oh, the government's got this, or like, oh, we people got this. Going through coronavirus, just this whole pandemic, it's the first time I've seen, or really, I guess maybe acknowledge the fact that, wow, no one has control over this. I can't place my faith in all the people or the institutions that I feel tempted to, because they don't have control over it either. And so how amazing of God to say, hey, in the midst of things you have no control on, here's what I want you to do. He doesn't say, I want you to go save the world. He doesn't say, I need you to find this. He says, be still. Know that I'm God. Watch how I can, be still. I've got you. You don't need to worry. And so when I find my wheels spinning, I love that reminder, especially in this season. Whenever you think about, quarantine, being still, be still, you know that I'm God. I think that's a great application for today. I've got another takeaway. It's wild to me how many different things you can get from a passage. And it was just reminding myself of the attributes of God. So here's something I think we're tempted to do. We can create these narratives of who God is based on lots of different experiences. Maybe it's how you grew up. Maybe it's your past experience with a church or not a church. I know when I was really little, I kind of viewed God as like this big scary thing, like far off, distant, and I was like really intimidated. It wasn't until I grew up really and I started spending time reading the Word that I realized He loves me too. So all that to say is, I love when Scripture gives us attributes of God, and I think it's really important to pay attention to those and to see if they're lining up with what we believe in our heads. Because sometimes I'm surprised at I don't think I really spent a lot of time thinking about that. So I went through this psalm and I just listed down attributes of God. Here, I'll show y'all right here. And I made a list, and here are some attributes that I found. He is our refuge. He is our strength. He is our present help in trouble. He is with us. He is our fortress. I love this picture of God, and I love that we went through Psalm, 23 yesterday, where we saw God's compassion and love and care. The fact that He leads us to blessing, and He chases after us, and He's our shepherd. And then we get this psalm, and it's like, oh wow, He's not only just a shepherd, He is powerful. And how amazing that same God that says, what does it say? He utters His voice, the earth melts. That same God has that passion and care and love for you. It's crazy to reconcile. I'm getting on a tangent, but all that to say, I love getting a picture of the strength of God. And I think we need that in this time, especially when we're feeling weak and deflated or defeated, reminding ourselves that He is our strength, and that He is with us in that. Something kind of interesting and really comforting for me is I wrote, He is our fortress. Where does it say that? What verse is that? Well, I'm having a hard time finding it right now. Oh, the God of Jacob is our fortress. Fortress, again, is another word. I know what it means, but I decided to look it up in the dictionary. This is something and I think I already said this, but I highly recommend y'all do. If you're reading through Scripture and you see a word you already know, look it up in the dictionary, because it may surprise you or kind of reveal something like a new layer to you. I looked at what a fortress is, and it says a permanent place of security. wow, I don't think I've ever thought about the Lord. Like, I think of a fortress in the medieval times, a big stone building that's withstood generations. That was a place of security and sanctuary. And that's what God is for us. He is a permanent place of security. So in the hard times when I want to run into that sanctuary because I have nothing else, he is there. In the times where I'm like, got this, God, like everything's going great, I don't feel like I need you, and I decide to take a few, steps outside of the walls, like, he is still there. He's not going anywhere. And he, generation through generation, trial through trial, like, he remains the same. He is firm, and he is our fortress. For some reason, that word just really comforted me today. Oh, man. So I guess those were a few of my kind of sporadic little takeaways. Again, would love to hear yours. If I was to wrap it up, I think I would say I was encouraged by this psalm in relation to yesterday's psalm, because I put, we're doing this Psalms of Rest study. I wrote, why can we rest? Yesterday, we were reminded that we can rest because God is our shepherd. He is the one taking care of us. He is the one providing for us. And then today, we know that we can rest because God is our fortress. He doesn't change. He will not be shaken. He is in control. And so, not to get all cheesy, but those do give my soul rest, even in the midst of chaos. So, y'all, I just have to be honest. I mean, the Lord is where I find that ultimate rest. And if that's something you're struggling with, I would just encourage you to pray about it. Ask the Lord to show you his love for you. I'm amazed that of everyone in the world, that he would care to love me and protect me just like he does for you. Just know that's true in your life. And so that's what I got for you today. I don't think there's anything else. No. I hope that encouraged you no matter where you're at. I will be jumping on tomorrow, same time, same place, at noon Central Standard Time, to go through the third psalm. Oh, and I just remembered one last thing before we end. If music is something that like stirs your heart, I know sometimes, if I'm just being honest, I can read these psalms and it's a lot of like old language, in the sense that we're talking about armies and like things that feel like a little bit far away. Sometimes music can just like stir up some of the beauty in this, I guess. And I would love for you to go look up on Spotify or wherever. There's a band, Shane and Shane. They have done a whole CD where they have put different psalms to music, which, P.S., psalms, I think most of them, if not all of them, were written as music. Which is kind of interesting. But if you listen to Psalm 46, I think it's called Lord of Armies, or Lord of Hosts by Shane and Shane, that song, it really helped me feel this, I guess, if that makes sense. And I think it'll encourage you today. Whenever I'm in the midst of something hard, that's one of the songs I play, because it just reminds me, oh, Lord, you are in control. Okay, friends. Thank you again for jumping on. I am so excited to hear about what touched you and what stuck out to you. And I hope you know that you are loved, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Talk to y'all later.